I am the true heiress in the tale of the genuine and the false, and when my affluent biological parents came to reclaim me, I unhesitatingly presented them with a support agreement. My biological parents were taken aback, the false heiress was rendered speechless, and my biological brother stood in stunned silence. 1. At the tender age of 6, I became aware of my identity as the true heiress within the pages of a novel filled with deception and intrigue. By the time I turned 20, my biological parents would reclaim me, plunging me into a life of torment and heartache amidst the opulence of high society. My brother coerced me into donating a kidney to the false heiress, while my biological parents subjected me to relentless abuse, and my fiancé treated me with scornful derision. Upon learning of these circumstances, I resolutely chose to leave the country, accompanied solely by my infinite signing-in system. At the age of 15, through the utilization of the system and my own diligence, I emerged as a leading business magnate abroad. Following my success, I did not rest. I returned to my homeland, where after 5 years of development, I ascended to the position of the nation's foremost scientific academician, establishing the Yi family as the preeminent research institution among the 4 prominent families of the country. At 20, I received a call from a hospital, informing me that they had located a couple claiming to be my biological parents, providing me with an address. I smirked, sensing the impending drama. Seated in the opulent presidential office of Yi Corporation, I perused the meticulously prepared dossier presented by Secretary Li. My expression devoid of emotion as my fingers lightly tapped the desk. Beads of cold sweat cascaded down Secretary Li's forehead. He understood this to be an ominous sign of my displeasure. Humph! Do they believe they are worthy of my pursuit? Listening to my scornful remarks, Secretary Li trembled slightly, yet quickly grasped my intent. President, I shall promptly arrange for the lawyer to prepare the contract, he stated. Without uttering a word, I conveyed my agreement, prompting him to exit with the documents to initiate the necessary arrangements. Leaning back in my chair, I gazed at the sky outside, momentarily closing my eyes to gather my thoughts, when suddenly my phone rang.
Xiaoye.
I have gathered information regarding your parents. Tomorrow, I will accompany you with Minister Luo. Hearing the concerned voice of the elder on the other end, my eyes involuntarily moistened. Thank you, Grandpa. You dear girl. Regardless of your parents' demeanor, you will always be my beloved child. Indeed. 2. The Nan family sat in silence on the sofa, a heavy atmosphere enveloping them. Nan Shui wept inconsolably in a corner, tears streaming down her face. Mom, Dad, does this mean I can no longer stay here? Upon hearing his sister's sorrowful cries, Nan Yuan felt his heart shatter. Addressing their parents, he declared, no matter your thoughts, I have only one sister, Nan Shui. Nan mother, gazing at her tear-streaked daughter, recalled the true daughter who had lived in the countryside, her frustration mounting. Why, oh why, was Nan Shui not her biological child? Upon learning of the news, the prospective in-laws, the Qian family, rushed to the Nan residence. Qian Lung embraced the sobbing Nan Shui and addressed Nan father and Nan mother, uncle, aunt. I, Qian Lung, shall marry only Nan Shui. The atmosphere in the living room grew tenser with Qian Lung's presence. Nan father glanced at the 2 entwined figures, ultimately sighing as if resigning to a decision. When she returns, let us provide her with some money and allow her to depart. With that, Nan father ascended the stairs. Nan Shui observed the indifferent expressions of those around her, feeling a surge of delight within, though her face betrayed none of it. What of the true heiress? She was still beneath her. The following day, the entire Nan family awaited my arrival in the living room. The Qian parents, having acquiesced to Qian Lung's insistence to stay, remained. Silence reigned, the atmosphere palpably tense. 30 minutes later, the driver dispatched to fetch Yi Nan returned empty-handed. Sir, we could not locate the young lady. Nan father was immediately incensed by the driver's report. What does she think she is? If she doesn't wish to return, then let her stay away forever. Leaning against Qian Lung, Nan Shui smirked internally, for she had already bribed the driver to avoid fetching me, instructing him to return in 30 minutes with the same tale of failure. Just as the tension in the living room reached its zenith, the roar of aircraft engines was heard outside. Sir, madam, a large contingent of military personnel is approaching. The occupants of the living room stood frozen in disbelief. What was happening? Without hesitation, they ventured outside, only to witness a fleet of aircraft circling above, flanked by rows of armored vehicles and luxury cars. Bodyguards and armed personnel lined both sides, and Minister Luo emerged from one of the vehicles. 3. As everyone beheld the descending figure of Minister Luo, their minds blinked in astonishment. Nan's father stepped forward, preparing to greet him, but Minister Luo halted his advance. He strolled over to a long Lincoln limousine and opened the door. A tall young woman in a crimson gown stepped out. It was none other than I. I surveyed the gathering with a cold gaze. "Is this the Nan family?" Minister Luo bowed respectfully to me and replied, "Indeed." Without further words, I strode towards the villa, which had already been secured by armed personnel. Nan's father and Nan's mother exchanged bewildered glances, uncertain of when they had offended me. Ignoring the crowd, I entered the living room, taking a seat on the sofa, with Secretary Li and Minister Luo standing beside me. The Nan and Qian families appeared exceptionally awkward in the living room. I paid them no mind, casting them disdainful glances, reminiscent of how they had once tormented me in my past life. Secretary Li. I had no intention of engaging in conversation with them and turned my attention to him instead. Secretary Li presented the pre-prepared contract to Nan's father, stating, "This is Yizhua, your biological daughter. Although you are her biological parents, you have never nurtured her during these years. Therefore, according to national law, the president is not obligated to provide for you. However, out of kindness, she is willing to offer you each a monthly allowance of 1,000. If you have no objections, please sign." A peculiar silence enveloped the room upon hearing Secretary Li's words. I reclined on the sofa, surveying them with indifference. I held no desire for charity, but since you are my biological parents in terms of medicine, I could entertain one condition beyond what Secretary Li mentioned, though whether I would agree depended on my mood. My words detonated like a bomb, leaving the Nan and Qian families in stunned silence. Nan Yuan felt humiliated. "What do you think you are? How dare you boast?" In response to Nan Yuan's impudence, Minister Luo drew his gun and aimed it at him. "What does she matter? She is the youngest academician in our nation. With just your previous remark, I could eliminate you right now." For, faced with the dark muzzle of the gun, Nan Yuan trembled uncontrollably, unable to comprehend how his sister could be the youngest academician. Nan's mother quickly shielded her son, her voice sharp and commanding. "What do you intend to do? Are you planning to kill your brother?" Nan's father regarded me with a grim expression. They had intended to humiliate me. Yet the tables had turned dramatically. I gestured for Minister Luo to lower his weapon, and he complied, looking at me expectantly. "You need not regard me with such disdain. I speak the truth when I say you are impoverished. After all, my family, the Yi family, stands at the pinnacle among the 4 great families of Long Country." The Qian parents, still reeling from shock, felt cold sweat soak their backs at my words. The Yi family? How could the Qian family possibly contend with them? They were scarcely worthy of comparison. Regret washed over them for wading into this murky water, and Qianlong, who had intended to confront me haughtily, dared not utter a word. He had heard tales of a wealthy heir whose company collapsed overnight simply for uttering a disparaging remark about me. Nan Shui, who had plotted her act, now stood frozen in fear, paralyzed by the unfolding events. I surveyed the silent assembly, finding it exceedingly dull, and rose to leave. "In 3 days, think it over and come find me at Yi Corporation." With that, I exited, leaving them behind. 5. After my departure, the Qian parents hastily took Qianlong away, unable to linger for even a moment longer. Nan's father held the contract in his hands, engulfed in a profound silence. At this moment, he felt an overwhelming loathing for Nan Shui. Had the child not been switched at birth, he would have been the foremost magnate in the nation. With the daughter of an academician by his side, who would dare to provoke him? Nan Shui wept sorrowfully, her cries only intensifying Nan Fu's irritation. Cry, cry, cry. All she knows is to weep. Truly, a mountain chicken can never become a phoenix. His icy words plunged Nan Shui further into despair, tears streaming down her face as jealousy reached a fever pitch. Why was it that she was supposed to be merely a poor child raised in an orphanage? Nan Yuan embraced Nan Shui, gazing at her in anguish, and shouted at Nan Fu, "What is so terrifying about a mere Yi family?" In response to Nan Yuan's words, Nan Fu slapped his son across the face. "Do you even comprehend what the Yi family represents? Even if you toil for 100 years, your earnings would not match what they make in a single year. Nan Yuan was stunned. How could this be possible? He stumbled back to his room, and once there, he quickly took out his phone and opened his group chat. Nan Yuan, do you know about the Yi family? Tang Chao. Of course. What's up? Nan Yuan, what's the Yi family like? Upon sending this message, an eerie silence fell over the group chat, and soon, the 50 or so participants began to exit one by one, leaving only two of his closer friends, Tang Chao and Siwei Xiao. Siwei Xiao, have you offended the Yi family? Nan Yuan, it seems the president of the Yi group is my sister. Tang Chao, no way. Bro. You're my brother from now on. Nan Yuan, is the Yi family really that formidable? Siwei Xiao, are you genuinely unaware, or are you pretending? Do you remember the Xia family from last year? Nan Yuan, yes, they seem to have offended someone and went bankrupt in a day. The Xia family was one of the 4 great families of Longhua at that time. Tang Chao, the Xia family offended none other than the Yi family. Nan Yuan stared at Tang Chao's message, frozen in disbelief. The Xia family had offended the Yi family, leading to their instantaneous downfall, centuries-old lineage obliterated in a single day. He felt a ringing in his ears, dizziness overwhelming him as fear began to gnaw at his heart. Had he truly spoken such words to Yizhua today? In a panic, Nan Yuan dashed out of his room and into the study, kneeling before Nan Fu. Dad, please save me. I don't want to die. Nan Fu looked bewildered as Nan Yuan, almost choking on his words, relayed what his friends had just told him. After hearing this, Nan Fu slumped into his chair. He knew the Xia family had made enemies, and he understood the might of the Yi family. But he was oblivious to the fact that the Xia family had offended the Yi family, his own flesh and blood. Nan Mu stood at the door, observing the two inside, and after listening to their conversation, she resolved to send Shui Er abroad. Nan Fu glanced at her and nodded slightly. Indeed. We must first address the issue of Nan Shui. If we do not resolve this, what does it matter what Yizhua is? Although she only provides support. If Nan Shui remains in the Nan household and news spreads, our family will be on the brink of bankruptcy. Very well, I will make arrangements for tomorrow. In the shadows, Nan Shui listened to her mother's conversation, anger surging within her. Why treat her this way? Crying, Nan Shui ran to the riverbank. Gazing at the turbulent waters, a fierce determination glimmering in her eyes. In the study, Nan Yuan was making calls to arrange for Nan Shui's departure abroad when the nanny suddenly burst in. Young master, it's bad. Miss is going to jump into the river. What? Without a second thought, Nan Yuan rushed out. Upon learning the news, Nan Fu and Nan Mu hurried over as well. Qianlong, already enraged at her parents for not allowing her to go out, became infuriated upon hearing that Nan Shui was about to jump into the river. Brandishing a knife against her own neck, Qianlong glared at the bodyguards and declared, If you don't let me out today, I will die right before your eyes. The bodyguards, seeing Qianlong's frantic state, dared not obstruct her any longer and had no choice but to relent, allowing her to leave. Once Qianlong was outside, a bodyguard immediately called Qianfu. Upon receiving the news, Qianfu was engulfed in fury, slamming his hand on the table. Fool! Does he know what kind of existence the Yi family is? To challenge the Yi family, does he want our Qian family to perish alongside them?
Qian sighed helplessly,
observing her husband's wrath. For now, the Yi family hasn't shown any intent to kill. What we need to do is to demonstrate our sincerity to them. I'll go speak with Yizhua. Qianfu donned his suit, preparing to leave, but Qianmu grasped his hand. I know you have an illegitimate son outside, and his mother has passed. Bring him home and acknowledge him as part of the family. Qianfu was taken aback, and Qianmu looked at him with resolute eyes. Though Qianlong is my child, the Qian family must not fall. We must cultivate a new heir swiftly. Nan Shui stood by the river, tears cascading down her cheeks. Numerous onlookers had gathered, and the police were already present, trying to dissuade her. When Nan Yuan arrived, he found Nan Shui weeping by the river, and his heart felt as though it were being torn apart. Sister, come down. Brother, I have taken everything from you. If I die, your family can live happily together. As Nan Shui sobbed, she moved closer to the edge of the bridge, and those who did not comprehend the truth could only feel sympathy for Nan Yuan. What's wrong with this sister? Why is she forcing her sister to die? Yes, it's too excessive. This sister has no conscience at all. Indeed. I've never seen someone push their own sister to death. Watching Nan Shui weep and listening to the murmurs around him, Nan Yuan felt his heart wrenching. It was all Yi Zhue's fault. Had it not been for her, their once happy family would not be in ruins. It's not your fault, Shui Shui. You are our only sister. That woman is not my sister. But brother, come down. Don't worry, we will not acknowledge her. With Nan Yuan's persuasion, Nan Shui ultimately refrained from jumping. Nan Mu, who had rushed over, gazed at Nan Shui's red-rimmed eyes, filled with deep sympathy. She had made up her mind. She would sign the contract tomorrow. She would not allow that wild child to return and disrupt their family, harming Nan Shui in the process. The uproar caused by Nan Shui's intended leap drew significant attention online, creating a buzz. Nan Fu, observing the trending topic, chuckled. Once the day after tomorrow arrives, he would announce that Yi Zhue is his biological daughter. Coupled with the fervor surrounding this incident, Yi Zhue would have no choice but to acknowledge her ancestry, and then the Nan family would ascend to an unparalleled status. The following day, Nan Mu set out early, heading to the Yi group. She intended to make Yi Zhue understand that Nan Shui was not to be bullied. She would sign the contract, and when Yi Zhue regretted losing them in the future, she would demand an apology from her on her knees. Upon arriving at the Yi group, Nan Mu addressed the receptionist. Have Yi Zhue come out. We have made our decision. And you are? The receptionist, a gentle young lady, looked bewildered at the haughty Nan Mu. Who is this? She asked, acting like she owns the place. However, upon seeing Nan Mu's attire, the receptionist decided against throwing her out. You only need to notify her. The rest is beyond your purview. Reluctantly, the receptionist called Secretary Li, who, upon understanding the situation, arranged for someone to take Nan Mu to the legal department. Meanwhile, at the Nan residence, Nan Fu was enjoying breakfast but noticed Nan Mu's absence, prompting a look of confusion. He turned to the nanny and inquired, "Where is Madam?" She said she was going to the Yi group this morning. I don't know anything else.
What?
Nan Fu hurriedly retrieved his phone to call Nan Mu, but the ringing was coming from upstairs. Nan Yuan came down, holding Nan Mu's phone, looking puzzled at Nan Fu. Dad, did Mom forget her phone? What do you need her for? Quickly, prepare the car for the Yi group. Without a moment's hesitation, Nan Fu drove straight to the Yi group. Upon his arrival, he saw Nan Mu exiting the building with a triumphant expression. Grabbing her hand, Nan Fu demanded, "What are you doing here? Sign it. That little wretch is bullying Shui Shui, and I must intervene." Before Nan Mu could finish her sentence, Nan Fu delivered a sharp slap, exclaiming, "Who gave you the right to sign that? Come, let us resolve this matter." Nan Shui and Nan Yuan, who had hurried over, looked on in shock as their father struck their mother. For years, Nan Fu had scarcely raised his voice against Nan Mu, so this act of violence was utterly bewildering. Ignoring Nan Mu's protests, Nan Fu dragged her into the Yi family's premises. The receptionist, taken aback, thought to herself, didn't they just leave? Why are they back again? With no choice, she called Secretary Li once more. Upon hearing her words, Secretary Li couldn't suppress a cold laugh. Bring them to my office. Nan Fu, Nan Mu, Nan Yuan, and Nan Shui were ushered into Secretary Li's office. Seated on the couch, Secretary Li regarded them coolly. Speak, Mr. Nan. What brings you here again? Nan Yuan, incensed by Secretary Li's dismissive demeanor, could hardly contain his anger.
How dare you speak to us like that?
You're nothing but Yi Zhuang's lapdog. At this, Secretary Li's previously gentle gaze hardened. It appears young Master Nan is unaware of the rules. But fret not for today. I shall enlighten you. With a snap of his fingers, a cadre of bodyguards entered. Teach young Master Nan some manners. The bodyguards swiftly approached Nan Yuan, forcing him to the ground, where he knelt in submission. Let me go. By what right do you touch me? He protested, struggling futilely. Nan Mu, filled with maternal concern, rushed forward. Release my son. Secretary Li turned to Nan Fu, smirking. You needn't argue about her signature. It holds no weight. As long as you possess a marriage certificate, that suffices. Should you wish to retract, it will cost you 100 billion. Oh, and let me remind you, your wife asserted she would never regret it. Secretary Li's mocking gaze fell upon Nan Fu, who turned pale. Everyone knew of the pampered second son of the Li family, who had the power to ruin lives at a whim. Nan Yuan, hearing these words, turned ghostly white, fear etched on his face. Li Xiao, I didn't mean it. Please spare me. Secretary Li scoffed, truly pathetic. His disdainful gaze fell upon Nan Yuan as if he were a piece of filth. Then he turned to Nan Shui, taunting, Miss Nan, would you prefer I assist you in deleting something, or will you handle it yourself? Nan Shui froze, terror-stricken, as the bodyguards advanced and seized her phone. Handing it to Secretary Li, he examined the video with a smirk. Quite well recorded. His voice, reminiscent of a demon from the underworld, echoed in her ears. After handing the phone back to the bodyguard, he ordered, erase everything. There won't be a second chance. If I discover otherwise, you know my temperament. Looking upon the four like mere corpses, he instructed the bodyguards, once you've ensured everything is in order, throw them out. I sat in my office, watching the video on my computer, a smile gracing my lips. Well done. Li Yun stood beside me, eagerly asking, is there a reward? I chuckled at his earnestness. The young man, clad in a sleek black suit, looked impeccably composed. Come here, 姐姐. Li Yun's ears flushed with a rosy hue. The next day, a video of the Nan family being expelled from the Yi family surfaced online, igniting a frenzy as many partners began withdrawing their investments. In his study, Nan Fu seethed with rage as he reviewed documents prepared by his secretary. It's over, it's all over for the Nan family. Nan Yuan entered, urgency in his voice. Dad, I have a plan. Are you familiar with the Feng family of the four great families? Could it be? Nan Fu's expression shifted as Nan Yuan nodded. At the International Hotel, Feng Ju toyed with his cutlery, scrutinizing Nan Yuan across the table. Why would I assist you? I've heard you have an affection for Yu Zhuang. If you help me, I can persuade my father to marry her off to you. Feng Ju smirked. Very well. With that, Nan Yuan handed over a USB drive he had prepared in advance. At Jai number 1, I gazed at the striking young man before me. With azure hair and sapphire eyes, Feng Ju. Ju, this is quite cruel, I remarked. But having 5 at once is a bit excessive. Feng Ju pouted, playing with my hair, eliciting a soft chuckle from me. Indeed, it's been ages since we gathered everyone. Why not host a celebration for my 20th birthday? I fiddled with the USB drive, and Feng Ju snatched it from my grasp, tossing it onto the table. 姐姐, focus. I laughed, wrapping my arms around his neck, whispering sweetly, behave. Upon returning home, Nan Yuan waited in vain for a response from Feng Ju, his anticipated developments yet to materialize. Just as he prepared to seek out Feng Ju again, an invitation arrived, revealing the details of Yi Zhuang's birthday gala. He realized he had succeeded. On the evening of the banquet, the Nan family donned their finery, acutely aware that many attendees were privy to their recent disgrace. However, they remained undeterred, anticipating my imminent downfall. Yet, to their dismay, as the event reached its zenith, I made a grand entrance in a resplendent gown, flanked by 5 dashing young men, captivating everyone's attention. Are they not the remnants of the 4 great families? Nan Fu's complexion paled as he sensed impending disaster. Whispers surrounded them. Truly, the 4 great families are filled with young talent. I hear they have a particularly close relationship with the Yi family. Indeed, the Yi family is unparalleled, both domestically and internationally. As the second son of the 5th family, Li Yun was once dismissed as a mere leech. Yet now, who dared speak ill of him? Remarkable. If I had a daughter like Yi Zhuang, I would be the envy of all. Some, however, remained oblivious to their naivety. The murmurs pierced Nan Shui like daggers, and unable to bear the weight of their disdain, she fainted. Nan Yuan, horrified, disregarded the curious glances and rushed her to the hospital, only to be involved in an accident that resulted in a broken leg. When Nan Fu and Nan Mu arrived at the hospital, they were met with pointed fingers and incredulous stares. Confusion clouded their minds until they opened their phones to discover my preemptive Weibo post detailing my lineage, the severance of ties with the Nan family, and a video mocking Nan Fu, accompanied by a document of disavowal. The comments were rife with derision, lambasting the Nan family for their ignorance. In a matter of hours, businesses that had partnered with them announced their withdrawal and demanded compensation for breach of contract. The Nan family faced total bankruptcy. In a desperate bid to salvage the situation, Nan Yuan sought me out, only to be struck by a vehicle, leaving his life hanging by a thread. Nan Fu, unable to pay for medical expenses due to financial constraints, approached me. Out of compassion, I granted him 20,000, as I could not bear to let him perish so soon, for I understood the anguish of my past life all too well. After a period of treatment, Nan Yuan returned home to find the family villa sold. Under duress, he learned it was Nan Shui who had liquidated their assets and fled abroad, having recognized the unsustainability of the Nan family. The parents of Nan were rendered unconscious from rage in the hospital, while Nan Yuan, dragging his severed leg, sought me out. I bestowed upon him an additional 20,000. As he clutched the sum in his hands, tears streamed down his face, for in my previous life, after my demise, his parents had only offered my adoptive parents a mere 40,000 before hastily dismissing them. I am deeply sorry for the transgressions of my past life. In response to Nan Yuan's heartfelt apology, I merely smiled, choosing silence, and instructed someone to escort him away. Upon settling his hospital fees, Nan's parents awakened, their faces obscured by their hands as they wept, their memories flooding back. In my former existence, upon returning home, they had obstructed me at every turn. Nan Yuan had shattered one of my legs, and when I innocently consumed a dish favored by Nan Shui, they confined me to a doghouse, ultimately coercing me into donating my kidney and heart to her. I perished during the heart transplant surgery. After my death, they felt no remorse. And upon learning from the doctor that Nan Shui was free of heart disease, they uttered words of relief, rejoicing that she had not succumbed to death. My adoptive parents, upon discovering my demise, approached the Nan family demanding an explanation, only to be turned away at the door. Nan Yuan, with a mocking gaze, tossed them 40,000 and dismissed them. My adoptive parents wept inconsolably, and tragically on their way home, they were struck by a vehicle arranged by Nan Shui, leading to their untimely deaths. Upon learning of this, Nan's father praised Nan Shui for her decisiveness. I observed the three grieving individuals on the computer screen with cold disdain as they implored to see me one last time. I instructed Li Yun to deliver a letter to them. Upon reading, I am also quite resolute. The 5 words sent them into a frenzy, and they were subsequently committed to a psychiatric hospital. Once admitted, I not only paid a monthly allowance of 2,000 but also allocated 500,000 for their treatment, ensuring that the director understood they must not perish. After all, death would be too lenient a fate for them. Nan Yuan, with his legs severed, dragged his weary body through life, enduring the scornful gazes of others until, in despair, he leapt into a river to end his suffering. Upon learning of her brother's existence, Qianling caused an uproar at the Qian household, and in his disappointment, Qian's father unceremoniously cast him out. Meanwhile, Nan Shui, upon arriving abroad by plane, was swiftly apprehended by my associates and sold into the black market, where she would face unending torment. I perused the documents, while 4 youths on the sofa regarded me with furrowed brows. "Sister, you've been reading for 30 minutes. Aren't you coming to join us?" "Indeed, sister. We've performed so well. Don't you think we deserve a reward?" "Sister, your indifference saddens me. Woo woo woo, surely sister no longer loves us." Gazing out at the sunlight, I sighed, reluctantly setting aside the materials as I approached the 4. A brighter future awaits me, undoubtedly filled with splendid possibilities. The end. Thank you for listening. I look forward to our next tale together.